After tons of waiting, we have finally received the conclusion to the Slayer Saga in the form of Doom Eternal's second expansion, The Ancient Gods Part 2. After doing a few runs and getting pretty familiar with the new levels, I figured it was time to write my review. So today, I'll be going over my opinions on The Ancient Gods Part 2, providing commentary on the various new levels, enemies, cosmetics, and more. This review will contain spoilers, so if you haven't been spoiled already and don't really want to be, I would suggest clicking off of the video. For those of you that stayed, please keep in mind that this review is completely opinionated and that you don't have to agree with a single bit of it. The community is still a bit torn regarding the DLC, so I ask that you please be nice to each other in the comments as well. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get into why The Ancient Gods Part 2 kicks major ass. After bringing us an opening cutscene that continues off of the cliffhanger ending of Part 1, the Slayer is sent to the World Spear to gain an ancient key and reopen the Gate of Doom. This level reintroduces the Sentinel Village structures previously seen in Doom Eternal's main campaign in a vibrant new level. We get introduced to a handful of new features in this level, with meat hook platforming being introduced almost immediately. Meat hook platforming takes the form of new glowing green grapple points that often have smaller pieces of armor to help guide players to the next jump. Although I am a pretty big fan of the new platforming mechanic, I do feel like it was seriously underused. It is often included in small platforming sections between arenas, with very few arenas actually using the new feature. Aside from wanting to see it used more frequently and in better ways, there honestly isn't much else to say. It's an okay new addition. Shortly after the new platforming section, we get introduced to the first of 5 new enemies, the Screecher. The Screecher is a fragile new fodder demon that, when killed, buffs all enemies within a certain range, giving them more health, speed, damage, along with removing the ability to falter any affected demon. The area that they're introduced in spawns in a handful of demons that are easily killed by explosive weapons. This area is a little tense on a first-time playthrough, forcing the player to watch their shots and time things more carefully, but on any other playthrough, I found myself just using the normal sticky bombs and rock-on rockets to take out the demons before they even get close to the Screechers. Other than this first encounter, the Screechers are only used in a handful of unique challenge encounters, such as the double Marauder encounter during the final level. This is another feature that I absolutely loved, but felt as if it was underused. I would have loved to have an arena full of more difficult demons with a couple of Screechers placed in strategic points. This kind of arena would really push the players to take a different approach to the fight. But thankfully, the Screecher isn't the only enemy we received in the first level. Soon after the first Screecher encounter, we get a pleasant introduction to what is arguably the best new demon in the expansion. The Armored Baron has a thick sheet of armor that can be blasted off by hitting the Baron's fist at an exact moment, or with enough plasma weapon damage. The Baron is used a good number of times throughout the expansion, each time demanding a bit of attention from the player. I often found that this makes arenas with more intense demons a little more tense, as while fighting them you also have to look out for the Armored Baron. I like the overall feel and look of the Armored Baron, and I am personally glad we got this new addition. A few arenas and a bit of platforming later, we get our introduction to the World Spear's final new enemy, the Stone Imp. The Stone Imp is an imp variation with a new charge attack and a yellow fireball that deals increased damage. The Stone Imps are weak to the Auto Rotator mod and the new Sentinel Hammer. I have personally found that it is usually easy to get them all grouped up together in a small area to open them all up to an insta-kill from the Sentinel Hammer. I didn't find myself using the Auto Rotator on them very much, although it is a cool new incentive to make the player use the full arsenal. Although I don't like the Stone Imp as much as the Armored Baron, they are definitely a welcome new addition to the demon roster. At an earlier point in the level, Commander Valen gifts you the Sentinel Hammer. This was probably the most exciting new feature announced before launch, and I am happy to say that it did not disappoint. The new Sentinel Hammer stuns all enemies in a certain radius and amplifies any rewards you might have gotten from an Ice Bomb use or a Flame Belch. It also provides the player with an ammo boost, making this a useful new addition to the Slayer's arsenal. On my initial playthrough of the expansion, I rarely used the Sentinel Hammer and instead opted to save it for emergencies. Doing this absolutely sucks the fun out of a weapon. With it only taking 2 weak points or glory kills to refill, this thing was basically built to be abused. Using this thing as frequently as possible, especially when fully upgraded, can provide a massive resource boost and make a lot of challenges immediately easier. Speaking of the upgrades, you earn an upgrade from completing the first stage of one of the new escalation encounters, which are also introduced in the first level. Escalation encounters offer 2 challenge arenas, with the first one being required for level progression. The first encounter is a short and easier arena that provides a Sentinel Hammer upgrade upon completion. The second optional challenge will give the player a skin once completed. Although the second one is more difficult, they aren't the hardest thing to complete, which is a reoccurring theme throughout these levels. Besides all of the fancy new features, we get a visually stunning level that offers a variety of new lore and some straight up fan service. To get from the Torch of Kings to the World Spear itself, the Slayer rides his own Sentinel Dragon. This is something many fans have wanted to see since we got that bit of concept art before Eternal's initial release back in March of 2020. I honestly enjoyed the new level. It introduced a few interesting new demons to the roster and provided a fun and slightly challenging experience. I did feel as if there were way too many unique fights and platforming sections. For as long as the level is, it feels like a big part of it is climbing walls and fighting no more than a few demons at a time. I enjoyed the main campaign's way of breaking up the action, and I was more than happy to see a little more of it, but I think the Ancient Gods Part 2 takes it way too far. But even with all of the new demon introductions and the cool new Sentinel Hammer, the World Spear level isn't the best Doom Eternal 2nd expansion has to offer. The second level, Reclaimed Earth, offers many new and absolutely stunning Earth environments along with 2 new demons. Immediately after entering the level, you're hit with a tutorial on how to deal with what is probably the worst new demon added to Doom Eternal's roster. The Cursed Prowler is a green, toxic variation of the Prowler demon that can put a cursed effect on the player. Once cursed, you will slowly lose health and resources until you finally kill the Cursed Prowler. You can only kill the new demon and remove the curse by performing a blood punch on the demon. While trying to find the Cursed Prowler, you won't be able to use lock-on weapons or the meat hook to close the gap between you and this toxic new addition to the demon roster. After learning all of the Cursed Prowler spawn points, it becomes extremely easy to immediately remove it from the fight altogether. Still, I did find this demon very annoying on my initial playthrough. Although its purpose is to make you more vulnerable, opening you up for further attacks, it just felt annoying to have to interrupt the flow of combat just to find this demon. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, I thoroughly enjoyed the Reclaimed Earth level. Although the level does suffer the same fate of having too few arena fights, the handful that we got felt very nice. The arenas had a good design, the difficulty was a little challenging but not too hard, and everything looked very pleasing. To add to the good design and pleasing arenas, this level introduced the classic Chain Gunner Demon as a new type of shield fodder enemy dubbed the Riot Shield Demon. Although it's nothing too special, it was very enjoyable to see this old favorite return to the fight in an interesting way. The Chain Gunner can't take damage from the front and requires a rocket blast from behind to be taken out. Although they aren't a hassle on their own, when paired with Stone Imps during the chaos of fighting stronger, more empowered demons, they can very easily sneak up from behind and remove a decent portion of your health. Along with the 2 new demons, this level also included the most difficult escalation encounter out of the 3. It still wasn't the most difficult challenge we've ever had in Doom Eternal, but the second portion of the encounter was certainly a difficulty spike. The difficulty was enjoyed though, as it was one of the few larger arenas we got in the level. I will say that I honestly enjoyed the sections between the big fights quite a lot. The platforming was fun and looked very appealing, and the unique encounters felt good and balanced. I can pretty confidently say that this was my favorite level out of the entire DLC, although it was pretty short and had very few large arena fights. Hats off to id Software for the beautiful scenery and level design, though. Next, we get to face off against the Dark Lord's army in the expansion's final full level, Amora. Amora starts off with probably the most amazing scene we've ever gotten in a Doom game before. The entire Sentinel army being led by Commander Valen, going up against Hell's forces in an ultimate battle is probably one of the coolest things I have ever witnessed in my entire life. This level offered a slight challenge with a lot of mini arenas and interesting environments. The escalation encounter found in this level is surprisingly not the most difficult one, but it does still offer a fun challenge. Fighting through these arenas and witnessing the battle take place in the background is an amazing addition to the level. Something I haven't mentioned yet is secret areas. The secret areas found in the previous 2 levels are nothing more than light and enjoyable secret hunting, but this level has purple goo covering the floor around most of the extra live secrets. I honestly found this a little annoying, as I don't really want to get slowed while finding an off-path secret. Other than that small complaint, I actually liked the first portion of Amora. It was fun and offered a slight challenge. About halfway through the level, though, we get shot through the large wall guarding the ancient Hell City. Once we do, we are almost immediately introduced to the wet cardboard known as Hell's elite guard. Although I wasn't expecting anything profound from these guys, it is still a little sad to see that they offer nothing to the arenas whatsoever. They die on one hit from just about anything and deal very little damage, even on Nightmare difficulty. I won't spend too much time complaining about them, though, as plenty of people have been doing that since the expansion's release. There are only 2 notable fights in this portion of Amora, in my opinion, with those being the double Marauder fight and the Possessed Baron fight. I thoroughly enjoyed both fights and found them a tad bit difficult on my initial playthrough, but definitely not run-ending. Overall, the Amora level was fun and somewhat challenging, but it did include a few annoying and slightly disappointing sections. Still, though, I did enjoy it.
Stand and fight, Slayer. Honor your true god. Fight and show me your purpose.
Finally, we have the fight that every fan was waiting for, the final match with the Slayer's true equal, the Dark Lord. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. I thought the fight was fun, but a little lackluster. It starts off with a phase similar to the Marauder. You get close enough, but not too close, wait until his eyes flash green, and then you shoot him. Shooting him will stun him, and using the Sentinel Hammer on him will extend his stun long enough for you to spam block on rockets and grenades, which will easily take him down to half health or lower. After easily completing this phase, you get transported to a new Hell on Earth arena. At this stage, I personally figured that his attacks would change, but they didn't. His attacks stay the same throughout the entire fight, with him only adding a few demon summons with each phase. This fight is honestly a little easy as long as you can stay out of his way and only hit him when prompted. It should take little to no time to finish the fight. I will admit I found it a little frustrating on my initial attempt, but after a bit of practice the fight becomes more than manageable. I guess to sum it up, it was a decent fight with good mechanics. I personally enjoyed that he gained health from the Slayer. It made it feel a little more even. But even with the positives, the fight was a little lacking and not what it could have been, given that id Software was given more time. After defeating the Dark Lord, we get a final cutscene shared between the Slayer and the Dark Lord. The Slayer takes off his helmet and readies his blade. The Dark Lord asks the Slayer if he has anything to say to his creator before striking him down, and the Slayer speaks for the first time in hundreds of years, saying,
No.
He then kills the Dark Lord, permanently sealing Hell away forever. But with this, the Slayer does lose a bit of his power and is locked up in a tomb, which is a scene reminiscent of Doom 2016. I do appreciate that not only do they leave it a little open for the Slayer's return, they also seem to be more than open to making future content in this universe. But for now, this is the end of the Slayer saga, and I'm honestly pretty happy with it. They did end up seemingly rewriting the lore a tad bit, which is something that I don't really like, but I plan on saving the lore and return of the Slayer for a future video. To simply sum the video up, I personally enjoyed Doom Eternal: The Ancient Gods Part 2, but I felt as if many sections of the DLC seriously underused the new demons and mechanics. This is a sad result of id Software not having enough time to work on the DLC due to having to meet the 1-year deadline. Given that id Software had more time and didn't have to work from home, I have no doubt that we could have gotten the best Doom experience yet. But along with the underused features, the DLC was notably easier, which I honestly thought was not that bad of a thing. It was way too easy in some sections, but lowering the difficulty allowed me to enjoy the experience without having to put all I have into the game. It was comfortable and fun, even if it should have been a little harder. With all of that being said, I hope you enjoyed my review. I would love to hear about your opinions down in the comments section below, and of course, feel free to leave any comments or criticism as well. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more Doom content. I have really appreciated the support here lately and hope to be able to continue putting out content. Thank you all for watching. Until next time.